Hey YouTube, welcome back. We are at about day 3 of our bleed character. We've been working on trying to use Xithara's Conundrum in order to make like a better bleed bow character. We've had some spicy other ideas about how we can kind of juice up the damage. This character has also kind of ended up being like kind of an exploration of legendary items because we have a ton of legendary items. So the core idea of this build is about the same. We wanted to use Xithara's Conundrum to have more physical damage while at full health. And then use Marksman's life gain on skill use, life gain on bow thing, life gain on crit, life gain on dash, life gain on various other mechanics, just things that can keep us at full life in order to stay at full health. Valdir's works well with this because it keeps us at full health. It's notable that Xithara's turns off health leech, health regen, and potions, but you can still gain health on crit, gain health on skill use, gain health on hit, and gain health on things being killed with Valdir. So we're basically always on full life, which means we can benefit from this. The other parts of the build that have kind of come together have been all the crit multi that we get from perfect aim, which we're taking this because we want the health gain on crit per stack, which is like 75 health on crit, which is kind of insane because we have a lot of small hits. And then we can also use that crit multi with Salt the Wound to get like an extra bit of bleed effect for the rest of our. So the last thing here is the Reign of Winter. Reign of Winter by itself is a bit slow. It's a 0.92 attack speed. So we try to get as much attack speed on Reign of Winter and on Arrow Guard as possible in order to get the character nice and tanky, but also have tons of damage on. The biggest update for the day 3 here is that we are maintaining our puncture stack. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see the little things in the bottom middle of my screen there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we are borrowing some technology from the melee version of this build. You see one of our ticks there is about 300k. We tick for like 320, 300k, 350, or like 250k a piece. And we are no longer detonating arrow. Instead, we are using bow channeled Flurry, along with a handful of these adrenaline nodes down here, and a little bit of more damage multipliers on the middle right side of the tree. So instead of detonating arrow, we're trying to use the channel Flurry, and the biggest reason for this, for our using this change here, is that we're now using coated blades, which consumes mana at the very beginning of your skill use, and then gives you a more damage multiplier, which is inherited by the bleed, because it's generic, across the entire duration of the channel. So even if we tap this once and our mana goes down by 40, you see that the rest of the time it's just like a normal mana cost. We also gain mana on hit, which means that while we're mapping, if we need to just hold this down, we're going to lose our puncture stacks over a series of time. But in a tough scenario, if we need to just hold down W or whatever a button is, we can, because we have mana on hit from this node up here. Strictly speaking, you wouldn't need to do this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 points to get this this mana on hit. The life gain on hit up here. We could put those into more adrenaline stuff. A little bit of bleed chance here, a little bit of bleed effect here, or even just juicing up this more damage multiplier to be a little bit bigger than it is right now. So those are a couple of things we could do. I think this feels really good in terms of skill utilization. If you accidentally hit Flurry a couple times, your mana goes nice and low, but we're able to recoup that mana nice and easily. So let me just give you a quick rundown of these skill and gear so that you can see what's changed over time. For the skills, puncture should be the same. We're not ever consuming bleeds. We just have the points here. I have 1 point in timing just for like an additional more damage multiplier, and then 5 points into fizz shred chance. Shift, we are using shuriken, so we have this up here, and then all 5 points into elusive to make us nice and tanky, gives us tons of dodge chance. Shurikens are only for armor, and if we're standing on top of something, they have a chance to shred on hit. Smoke bomb. We are using Smoke Bomb for cleanse because I'm using a Thorn Slinger that does not have cleanse on it. I put a little bit of mana regeneration on this. I'll probably switch back to a different Thorn Slinger, but right now I'm trying out with the mana regeneration prefix. So we have cleanse there, 1 point for Crimson Shrouds, and then just a bunch of utility and Dust Shroud generation to make us nice and tanky. And then for Flurry, like we said before, we have the channeled aspect here. We have the arrows are inaccurate on the very far left side, kind of like a more multiplier, just makes arrows happen more often. We have 2 points into Adrenaline Rush. I don't think Blood Play is particularly good, and I also don't think that Reopen Wounds is going to be worthwhile for the points, because we're already using Salt the Wound, to get a bunch of bleed effect for our character. Also, this only affects Flurry. This doesn't affect bleed effect from other things that would bleed, like the icicles. And then we have one more damage multiplier here, another more damage multiplier here, and then we have a couple nodes up here just to get to the mana gain on hit. So this feels pretty good. I like it. Happy that it's there. For the gearing, not too much has changed. I kind of like our life total. We're at 2,400 life. I'd like to get hybrid life on these boots. I'd like to get movement speed on these boots. But honestly, while you're running around and while you're hitting things, you're getting... While we have haste and while we're shifting around, we have like between 70 and 100 movement speed, which feels pretty good. So I'd like to get movement speed and hybrid on these boots, obviously. But for what it is right now, I think it's fine. We are using Woven Flesh in order to cap all of our crit avoidance. Because gearing on a marksman is a real pain in the butt. Because your mastery and your gear affixes only give you poison res. They don't give you anything that's actually useful for you. And our idols are almost exclusively life, elemental res, life, elemental res, life, elemental res, and a little bit of fizz res. So all of my idols are helping fill out the resistances here. What we'd like to do in the future is get one of the idols that says increased bow attack speed for 3 seconds every 10 seconds. That would kind of go along with the theme of the arrow storm stuff. It gives you a huge attack speed steroid in order to attack faster. Would like that kind of thing. Or just like bow bleed on hit, something like that would be fine. It's notable that anything that says like bow bleed on hit doesn't apply to icicles, only applies to the arrows themselves. So I'd like to get as many generic sources of bleed as possible. For the blessings, let's talk about those real quick. We have health from the Black Sun. This could be crit multi. Crit multi would give us another source of salt the wound bleed effect, which would be good. Stun chance is garbage, but there's nothing else that's really good for us here. Bleed on hit. Remember, we're not using crit avoid blessing, and we're not using all res blessing, so generic bleed on hit does affect the icicles, which is great. Fizz shred, because we hit a whole bunch, is very useful for us as well. And then a little bit of endurance, which puts us at 40% endurance. My only source of endurance right now. So that's currently the build. We're going to keep working on this right now. Things like chance to bleed on hit is not particularly helpful, but things like percent increased damage while wielding a bow, I'm going to try to get more of those into this build. That's the build. We're going to keep working on it. It's about 300k ticks on the dummy. It feels really good to map with. It feels nice and tanky because we have capped glancing blows, we have smoke bombs, silver shrouds, dodge, we have a bit of armor as well as we're dodging around 25%. If you have any questions about this character, you can either drop by twitch.tv/parrythepig and ask live, or you can just leave comments in the comment section of this YouTube video. And we'll keep working on this character. We'll see if we can make it nice and sweet.